Alright, I've got a new WML from Inforce. Just came in. It has the infrared illuminator that you can switch between visible and infrared light. So I wanted to take it out here in the dark and compare it to some others I've got. This evening, the moon is almost gone. It's technically a 4% illumination. Pretty clear. You got some stars out. Here in Pittsburgh, there's a little bit of glow from the city though. But we are kind of in the middle of nowhere, have a good bit of distance in front of us here. So yeah, go ahead and start with the WML. So this is the IR, just you tap it on and it's a constant on. With the auto gating there, you'll see if I move up and just kind of look at the far distance objects, turn it off, back on. So it's really lighting everything up pretty clear here at a distance. Obviously all those reflective signs are glowing, but it's really a pretty wide spill here. It's just in my hand here, free, looking out into the woods here. Keep it pointed straight. There's a really wide spread, and definitely enough illumination for close up here, but it's really not spotlighting at a distance. You can see it kind of coming in. Compare that with a Scout head. It's got the KM2, so this is flipped over to infrared as well. If I turn that on, you'll see it's a much hotter spot, so it almost lights up a little better at distance, and that could be two things. That could be it being focused further, and then there's the fact that it's not splashing as much onto the ground, so the auto gating on the tubes isn't quite cutting the tubes back in brightness. So you can still see it picking up there in the shadows. Again, down low, there's the spotlight off to the side here. You get a little bit of spill right there, but then you get that hot spotlight right in the center. So to see if I can do maybe a side-by-side here, but the Scout on the left, the Inforce on the right. So I can definitely see, even passing in front of the Inforce's beam with the Scout, that there's that hot spot. I'll have to look up the numbers to see how their infrared energy compares, but it's definitely cutting through it because it's got that tighter beam pattern. Up close, that's the Inforce, nice and wide, and then this Scout is this real hot spot. So Scout's probably a good option for marking things at distance like that, whereas the Inforce really just lights up your entire environment. I got one more here, the X300v, the Vampire. If we flip that on, we can see that actually might be throwing out a little more than the Scout. It's got a nice hot center, and then picking up the Scout here, so there's one over there with the Scout spot there, and over here the Vampire. It's actually really similar. If anything, the X300v might be a little wider. Similar brightness, but it makes me feel like there's almost more energy being pumped out by the X300v because it's a wider hot spot with similar brightness. So yeah, pretty similar there. Again, these are all fresh batteries. Tried to compare them as direct as possible. So there's the X300v versus the Inforce. So you get nice illumination of the woods over there. Same thing, maybe even a little bit more brightness with the Vampire. But again, it's a little more targeted. So up close, again, hot spot. Whereas with the Inforce, it's like you just turn the lights on, so it's a real wide pattern, but plenty of energy. Just a few more here to compare. Just grabbed an upper that has the Raptar Lite ES on it. So if I go to the IR setting, IR dual, what you're going to see there is an IR dot, and that's really the majority of the brightness. At this distance, a civilian power illuminator really doesn't have much power behind it. You'll see up closer, there's the spot, and I can focus it down from there, but the power is really limited. So as I focus, you might be able to start seeing that beam kind of closing in on the dot. So even as I close all the way in, it shows you it's the exact same power as the IR dot is. So you're losing quite a bit of energy in that. So the dedicated IR illuminators with the LEDs are actually much more powerful than the IR illuminator on a laser like this because of the restrictions that I think the FDA put in place. I'll compare that here to a full power illuminator. So this is 25 milliwatts. It's not a focusable beam, but it's definitely a full power device with an IR laser and laser illuminator. So you'll see at a distance here, I mean, it really just doesn't even compare. There's so much more energy being sent out there, but it's a very tight focus pattern. If you go for something like a PEC 15, that's going to be focusable, or some of the law enforcement military level D-balls. So this is just a kind of an older model, meant more for pistol lights. It gives you an idea of what that illuminator looks like. Let me pull that Inforce out one more time. So you'll see it adds a lot more light to the scene, but it's not nearly as bright as something like a 25 milliwatt illuminator there. And then one more with the Scout to compare hotspots, just to give you an idea. Much wider spread. It's lighting up the entire scene, but you don't have nearly the reach of an illuminator like that. All right, thanks for checking in. We'll do this again when I can come up with something else to show you.